Okay, we are live. Oh, let's get this. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 74 of the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. Talking today to Tom about his recent talk at the Ohio InfoSec Forum. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Well, before you start, I just wanted to say that the last week's episode is still in production. We recorded late, and it's coming out soon. It obviously will be out before this one. So if you're hearing this live, it's coming. If you're hearing it delayed, then you don't know what's going on anyway. So it's not that that's an insult, but you'll just be like, hey, where is it? And now you know why. So, Tom, you did a talk last week?
I did. I'm a board member of the Ohio InfoSec Forum. It's a little local group, totally free to attend if you're in the Dayton, Ohio area. We'll feed you. We'll teach you about security stuff. It's a great time. Second Thursday of the month. Come on down. It's great. I want to make sure I got my links right. That's going to be ohioinfosec.org. And we'll include it in the show notes. But, if you're in the Dayton, Ohio area, come by, say hi, get some free food. It's a good time. But occasionally, I go to the group and I don't just sit there, eat their food, and have other people teach me about cool stuff. Occasionally, I will give my own talk and try to show people cool stuff that I've been doing.
And you told me about this, and this is definitely cool. So I definitely want to hear about it.
It is cool. It's really script kiddie-ish, but I'm sure we'll get into that here in a bit. But I think it's pretty neat.
So let's first say, is this legal what you're going to show us?
It is legal if you are attacking a network that you personally own. If you are attacking someone else's network, it is not illegal. As a matter of fact, it can land you a felony charge. So be careful. Now, the software I'm going to show you has got nice flags that you can say, hey, only attack this Wi-Fi network that I'm controlling because I want to test it on my stuff. That's totally legal, and you can totally limit the software to do that. Do not use this outside of a network you control. Do not attack anyone else's network. If you get thrown in jail, there's a disclaimer in these slides that I'm going to show you. I will not bust you out. I simply will not. You'll go to jail, and I'll laugh.
Okay, so everyone, our disclaimer is this is purely educational and only use on yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So what are we doing? I mean, we haven't given it a name yet, but so what did you make?
I made the Wi-Fi Grenade, and I'm actually going to show you some slides here. So hopefully this will show up on camera. Again, I'm gonna give you some links in the show notes to my site where you can download the slides and get a build guide and all this other cool stuff. But for now, let's just go through this. So everything in security has got to have a really cool logo. So I made a really cool logo. It's like got a little, for people listening to the audio podcast, it's got like a little bob in the Wi-Fi symbol where the circle would be, like right in the middle. It's pretty neat looking.
I'm going to bust some chops here and say that he can't actually use the Wi-Fi logo because it's actually trademarked by the Wi-Fi Alliance. So he did actually have to modify it.
Yes. And the guy nicely, there was a guy I've got his name in the credits of the slides, made a vector bomb logo and a vector Wi-Fi logo and put them in the public domain. He CC0'd all of his work. So it was great. I just mashed them up together, kept the same public domain, copyright notice, and put it on the internet so anyone can use it. I love Creative Commons. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing, and I put this on all my slides, this is me. If you're listening to the podcast, you know me and you know where to get my stuff. This link right here, right at the top, that's where you can get these slides. So head on over there. And, you can contact me in a bunch of different ways. Okay. Slide disclaimer. Number one, I did not do any of the hard work. I literally taped a couple of electronic pieces together, and other people did the hard work of, making the Linux operating system the Pi is going to run on, making the actual Python script that does the hard work of deauthing. Now, I was going to create my own script to do this stuff, but I decided not to when I found out that Dan McInerney, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, made a Wi-Fi jammer script that was way better than anything I could have come up with on my own. So I took his work, it was open source, and he's awesome, and I'm giving him credit. So I didn't do the hard work. Number two, again, don't use this on anything you don't own, and don't just blindly run the code without reading it. Read the code, read the help text, set it to attack a network you own, and that's it.
Well, let me ask you this before you continue. So
yes.
we do know about cell phone jammers, and we all know those are illegal. Does this fall under the same line that you're hindering communication, or does it fall under you're just vandalizing rather than basically, are you going to get many law enforcements on you, or are you just going to get one?
You know, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know where this falls into FCC regulation. Now, it could be that this device is causing undue interference, which it's not allowed to, and that may fall under FCC jurisdiction. It might just fall under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, or unauthorized use of a network, or unauthorized use of a computer. I mean, there's a lot of different really overreaching, like giant laws that this could fall under. At the end of the day, do this on a network you control, and that's it. I tested this on my networks, on the one I've got in the house, and my wife wasn't happy about it. And then I tested it on my Android hotspot, and it kicked off all the devices on there. So be careful and read what you're about to do, and be sort of responsible.
Okay.
Yeah. And number three, this is a big one. This stuff, it's a deauth attack. This isn't super technical. It's not impressive. It's not like crazy, holy cow, this guy's the best hacker in the world. No, this is script kiddie level stuff. This is bottom of the barrel at the most, right? You can't get any lower than this. There is no skill whatsoever. In the best light, this is a cool way to show what deauthentication packets do on a Wi-Fi network. At the worst, it's juvenile stupidity that can land you a felony. So don't take this stuff too seriously. I'm not a super hacker. This won't make you a super hacker, but it's a cool little project, and we're gonna have some fun. Now that all the disclaimers are out of the way, hardware, and we'll go into the hardware here in just a second. Raspberry Pi 2, you'll need a 4 gig or more micro SD card. Really cheap. Get something big. An Alpha wireless card. These are fantastic. And a Anker phone charger battery, which I'll go into here in a bit, because I've actually got the hardware in front of me, and I'm going to show you what it all looks like put together. Software, we're running Arch Linux, the ARM version, Python 2, Dan McInerney's Wi-Fi Jammer.py. It's open source, and I'm going to give you the link in the show notes later. And then some general tools, some libraries that the script will use, some stuff we can use to pull down the code. Let me see. Yeah, here's the quick.
Go back 1 second. Let me ask.
Yeah.
So the Wi-Fi, the Alpha Wi-Fi thing, do you need that, or do you just need any wireless card?
If it's a wireless card that supports injection, MAC address faking, and other kind of more technical wireless stuff, you can use it. The one reason I'm using the Alpha card is because they tend to be very kind of hack friendly. You can do just about anything with these. They're really open, really nice. And the second thing is they're really powerful. It's definitely not the most inconspicuous thing around. So it's got it comes with this antenna. You can get giant antennas. You can get ones in weird shapes that do different things. But this is a really powerful card, really powerful. And it'll touch tons of Wi-Fi networks. So if you wanted to, and I don't think I've got it around here, my Raspberry Pi kit came with its own wireless adapter. You can use that. I don't know how well it's going to work. So
well, then let's ask you, Raspberry Pi 1, or you don't know yet?
I am using the Raspberry Pi 2. Now, I can only assume it's going to work just the same on the Raspberry Pi 1. but it's going to be slower. And the thing I got came with this nice case, and it's shiny. I like it. So we've got Raspberry Pi 2, Alpha card, SD card, with a little adapter guy, and the Anker battery charger. Now this thing is awesome because you can take this, hook it up, and charge your phone, because my phone has terrible battery life. So this is a lifesaver. I can get a bunch of charges out of this, and it's just useful to have anyway, and not just for building cool Wi-Fi grenades. So I'll show you how this all looks put together. So we'll just pop the micro SD card in here. Put this guy on top, just like this. And we're gonna plug it in. So the Alpha card does come with a mini USB. It's not micro. So plug in a mini.
That's annoying.
It is.
So if you're listening to this, Tom is just assembling it, just a couple boxes, stacking them one on top of each other, and going from there. It's a case on his Raspberry Pi. That's a good 3D printed project that you can do, and then I'm sure he's going to surround it all with a big piece of duct tape.
You can use duct tape. I'm going to use the less conspicuous option of I'm just going to use this nice rubber band and rubber band the whole thing together. Now, I know it's called a Wi-Fi grenade, and that's because I wanted a cool name. You shouldn't actually throw this. I don't have a throwing case yet. I've talked to some people, and they've considered and talked about making a throwing style case so you can chuck this thing around. But I don't know why you would want to. The components are, a little over $100 USD, so you probably wouldn't want to waste one of these, but if you needed to, you could. So what we've got here is the completed product. Yeah, just all kind of put together with a rubber band. That's it. And I've left the firing pin undone. What's cool about this Anker battery, and I call it the firing pin, it's actually just what goes from the battery to the Raspberry Pi itself. What's cool about this is it actually doesn't do anything unless I hit this power button on the battery, and you see it's unplugged. And then it turns on. So you can keep this plugged in and then just hit the battery to turn it on.
Well, that's specific on Anker batteries.
Yes.
And the newer Anker batteries, I think they changed that. And we're not I'm recommending Anker for just about everything because they're awesome.
Dude, I have thrown this, I have dropped it, I have drop kicked it. This battery is fantastic.
Anker is not telling you that you should. They're not condoning Wi-Fi grenades in any imagination. We're just saying that if you need an external battery for your phone for anything, Anker is the company you should go to first.
Yep. Yeah, it's really fantastic. So for the quick how-to, and I've got a big expanded version of this on my website. First step, install Linux on the thing. You can use Raspbian. I chose Arch because I like Arch and it boots really fast. Install the required libraries and tools. Grab the code, Dan McInerney's Wi-Fi Jammer code from this GitHub link. And then what we're going to do something. I could have made like a Linux service file and turned this into a daemon and did a bunch of really complicated stuff. Instead, we're just going to make it so the root user automatically logs into the device when we boot. It's low tech, it's not secure, and you're not supposed to put data you want secure on this thing. It's an appliance. So root will log in, and then when you set up this file, it'll just start the Wi-Fi Jammer command automatically. So the device will boot up, log in, and start the Wi-Fi Jammer all in about a minute. No user input, no screens to look at, nothing to plug in, nothing to type. It all just works. And again, here's another picture of the device. Okay, so deauth packets. Deauth packets are fun. What they basically do is a router will send a deauthentication packet to a wireless device, and the wireless device has to disconnect. As Devin Aiken said on a forum post, deauthentication is not a request. It is a notification. Your device, by the Wi-Fi standard, if it's implemented correctly, has to listen to a deauth packet. Otherwise, a bunch of weird stuff can happen. Actually, things do break. Now, deauth packets aren't just built to annoy people. They're not just built to kick people off Wi-Fi like we're doing here. What they actually do is they can be used in a couple different ways. One of the most common is, let's say you're in a big office building and you're walking from like over on one side to the other side, and there are a couple access points along the way. Well, you are attached to the first one and you're walking to the other end of the building. That signal is going to get really weak. It's going to start dropping packets. It's going to be horrible for connectivity. So what that thing can do, if they're all hooked up to the same Wi-Fi access point controller, the first access point that you're connected to can send a deauthentication packet. Say, hey, Mr. Man's computer, go ahead and disconnect now. And what will happen is your computer will disconnect, and if they've got the same SSID, if they've got the same network name, that computer will find the closest one and attach right up to that, meaning you can carry a complete Wi-Fi signal without having to, string this really nasty, kind of horrible Wi-Fi signal around from the first access point. It's a nice way to hop between Wi-Fi access points. They have good uses. Now, wireless spoofing, really easy. And really easy to spoof deauth packets because they're not encrypted. Even on encrypted networks, deauthentication packets are part of what we call Wi-Fi management frames. These are things that broadcast the name of your Wi-Fi network. They say what type of encryption it uses. Like when you click on the Wi-Fi logo on your computer or on your phone and it shows a list of networks and some of them have got like the lock or the shield next to them and others don't, your computer knows that because of Wi-Fi management frames. You don't have to connect to get that information back. Without those things, without Wi-Fi management frames, if they were encrypted, if you had to connect to get to them, it would fundamentally change the way Wi-Fi works, and it wouldn't work as well as it does today. There's a reason they're unencrypted. Now, deauthentication, they probably should be encrypted, which brings me to one of my next slides. So 802.11w, I believe Cisco made this standard. What it says is that some management frames, some important management frames should be encrypted. We should protect those. And if deauth was protected, if they didn't allow it just out in the air, out in the open where anyone can send them, then this attack wouldn't work. So not all management frames would be protected by the standard, only some. So that's probably the best way of stopping this. Unfortunately, it's a really new proposed standard. Hasn't worked its way into very many things, and it'll be a while before we see it used in a bunch of places.
And we're all gonna have to buy new routers and everything.
Yeah.
So this is just like G and B and A and N and now AC.
It's not necessarily a new class. It's not like a new B or a new G or new N. It's really an addendum. It's saying, okay, we're going to take your existing Wi-Fi network and make it do this as well. We're going to add on 802.11w. Now, you might be able to get this through a firmware update, but the vast majority of router manufacturers aren't going to include it until they absolutely have to.
And we've all talked about how router manufacturers don't ever update anything, and even if they do, it's not good software. It ends up breaking things, and they just want you to buy a new one.
Exactly. The second way to stop this attack is you can actually install, and I do not recommend this. Let me make this clear. Absolutely do not recommend this, but it is possible, which is why I'm mentioning it. You can load custom drivers on your operating system that will ignore deauthentication packets. Now, this breaks the Wi-Fi standards. This breaks what should happen. And things can get weird and wonky and things can break, but if you absolutely need to ignore deauthentication packets, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, and probably a more comical way, is to encase your entire house or office in a Faraday cage. So no signal from anything gets in or out.
It's a good thing that my place of employment is sealed with concrete. Nothing gets in or out there. But yes. Yeah, start getting some aluminum tinfoil on the walls.
Oh yeah, yeah. It might work. I mean, if you do it well enough, it would work. Unless someone brought a Wi-Fi grenade inside of the Faraday cage, in which case it would still deauthenticate everything around you.
Just remember, when you make a Faraday cage, the cell phone signal also doesn't come in.
Right, right. So you might have more problems than you started with. So that's why this works. Let's see here. Let's head over to the next slide. Something cool I found out, and this is pretty technical, so I'm going to skip over exactly how the code works. Basically, when you start an Android access point, like you start a hotspot on your Android phone, if your phone is using Broadcom for its Wi-Fi chipset, it'll actually randomize the last part of the MAC address, the last half of it, which I found really odd. A lot of users reported this as a bug. It's indeed a feature, but for the life of me, I couldn't exactly find out why. It's not a privacy thing, because it's not randomizing the MAC address of your card when you connect out to things. It's only randomizing the MAC address of your hotspot when you're putting off a Wi-Fi signal. So I'm not entirely sure why they do that, but I guess it's nice. So if you're testing using an Android hotspot, get the MAC address, load it into the software, and then try testing. Otherwise, you're going to try to deauth absolutely nothing, which I tried 3 or 4 times before I found that out.
Okay.
And then just one more time over the credit where it's due. Dan McInerney, he did all the hard work of the Wi-Fi jammer script up until last week sometime, the last time I looked. This thing was still being updated and hammered on by people. This is fantastic work. So if you're interested in Python or coding or Wi-Fi jamming, check out that. He's also got a great blog post that we'll link you to explaining exactly how the script works. Alpha Networks makes this great card. Anchor makes a fantastic battery. And the Raspberry Pis are just cool. They can be used for a lot more than building Wi-Fi grenades. They can be used for a bunch of stuff.
Well, what I told people with Raspberry Pis is they do one thing very, very well. And they go, but it's underpowered. I can't watch YouTube and go on the internet. And I said, you see, you said 2 things there. They don't do 2 things well. They do one thing very well. And for $30, I mean, to play around with it, it's great.
Oh yeah, that's in the Raspberry Pi 2 is just about fast enough to make like mom or grandma's desktop out of it. And at $35 for just the package alone without the case or the SD card, it's kind of a brain dead move just to try it. I mean, it's a fantastic little device. I love this thing. But yeah, that's really all the slides I had for this. And it's it's a nice little device. It works. It's kind of cool. It's not technical or impressive really, but it's something, and I made it, and it's fine.
Well, can we give some? We got to find some benefit of this. Let's say you're going to a really crowded place. You're going to a place where the Wi-Fi is overloaded, and you're connected, but nothing's getting through because everyone's jammed.
And your friend comes up to you and says, "Hey, dude, I know you have that Wi-Fi grenade, and I'm legally authorizing you to attack my network." And now you can continue your story.
Yes, I was going to say, and the owner said, since I own this, can we turn this on? That will knock everyone off and then allow you to connect.
The script does allow you to exempt a MAC address. So if you wanted to kick everyone off except one device or a couple devices, yes, you could do that. Now, keep in mind, this is just MAC address spoofing. So I'm not going to go into the details of exactly how that works. It's a little too high level. But it means that if anyone actually knows what they're doing, they can get around this really, really easily. So don't view this as like I'm going to protect my network by running a Wi-Fi grenade all the time. It will not protect you, and it's a dumb idea.
Okay. So what about the case where so the router is so bogged down with wireless connections, and you see this when, like, at a coffee shop or wherever, and it connects, but nothing happens, mainly because basically the router needs a reset. I think I guess I don't know what I'm asking. Basically, they let it go, and everyone's connecting, disconnecting in a normal business day, and every once in a while, it just nothing works, and it has to be reset. By deauthorizing all the Wi-Fi connections and starting from scratch, would it make a router restart up again?
Unfortunately, no. Most of the time, that's due to bad firmware, to memory leaks, to the thing just getting overloaded and needing a good old-fashioned reboot. So the Wi-Fi grenade wouldn't actually help you. I ran into this issue giving this talk the first time around. I know of like probably one, maybe two reasons in like a white hat, a good guy scenario to use one of these things. One of them is testing your own network security when it comes to deauthentication packets. If you've implemented 802.11w, or another kind of deauth blocker or drown out system. There's a couple things that'll help, protect against this. And then the other thing is maybe you are hired to do a pen test, and for some reason you need to kick everyone off the Wi-Fi network except for a person, or you need to move everyone to the wired network for some reason. I don't know why. And you needed to do it in, this form factor and throw it under a desk somewhere. So there aren't very many, kind of good guy, white hat reasons to build or use one of these, unfortunately. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I just can't find a good guy use for it.
Look, you can't always be always good. You always want to try something that's a little underboard and just to have fun with it. But if you're doing it on your own network and you want to wreak havoc on your brother's Wi-Fi connection, you want to get him off the BitTorrents or the Minecrafts or whatever.
Oh yeah, you could totally do that.
So, but you will have to face his wrath, and his wrath is not legal; it's just there. So,
and like we've discussed several times before, I mean, if you're a hacker, if you're a good guy, pen tester, security guy, right? Like we like to think we are on this show. You can't ignore the bad stuff people do, right? We can't say, oh well, only bad guys mess with cross-site scripting, or only bad guys mess with deauthentication grenades. We can't ever talk about that stuff. No, because you have to understand, you have to learn, right? You have to involve yourself in everything security related to figure out how to protect against it and how to develop tools that'll thwart the bad guys and how they think.
You're going to have this, and somebody can make this in their place of employment, and you'll never get Wi-Fi. Or the company may do it. I mean, there are... Who knows? And so you want to know the bad things. You want to know what the bad guys are up to.
Right.
You just have to know better than to associate with the bad guys. And that's the other half of the part of the show is that, you know what? Here are the bad things, like you said, but you got to learn this is bad, don't do it. And we're not 10 years old here thinking, oh, let's do this just to have... You want to have fun? You want to have fun. Look, we got that. Do it on your own time, on your own network.
Yep.
Don't hurt anybody, because when you hurt somebody, you don't want that.
Yeah, there are consequences to this stuff. And, not every FBI agent or cop is running around, scanning the air for deauthentication packets trying to find you. But if you do this enough, if you do it to the wrong people, you can get a felony and land yourself in prison. And no one wants that, right? So be smart about it.
And remember, the government doesnto understand the difference between hacking and real hacking, so they just throw the book at you. And we've seen that over and over and over again. And they want to increase the punishment for the wiretapping and espionage acts and everything. And who knows what they're going to charge you with. So the best thing to do is, this is a great project. You want to build it, try it on your own network, but let's keep it there.
Right.
Move on. Okay,
yeah, look at it as education only.
Yeah, and I think we've said enough disclaimers for one show. So
it's probably the most disclaimer-heavy show we've ever had.
Yes, and I'm sure there'll be more, but for right now, we'll go from there. Okay, everyone, it's been a good whatever. We're done. We will again. I got no closing on this. We'll see you next week.
See you guys. Bye.